Well, hello. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles. Yeah. I love doing this, by the way. Yeah, it's such a joy. It's such a pleasure for me to be here with you and sharing my experience with this extraordinary material, extraordinary curriculum. And as always, whether you take this as your main spiritual path, which you can, or not, it doesn't make any difference. This is for everybody. That is the beauty, universal beauty of a self-study course. You take what you are called to take, in other words, what you want to, right, in a given moment. And often with A Course in Miracles, that means what we're able to digest in the present moment. If you have been working with this material, if you're familiar with it, and I know a number of you watching these videos have been at this a lot longer than I have. Some of you have been course students for over 30 years, and that is extraordinary. Yeah, it really is. So you know that sometimes what you take is what you can digest, because there are so many layers of depth here. Ultimately, of course, there's no layer at all. There's simply truth. And how that comes across to us here in the world is in a lot of different looking ways, isn't it? Some days you may find that you're only able to digest or to take in a certain amount, and then the course operates on deeper levels all of the time. If you're just starting out with this material, when you go forward with it, if you do, right? When you go forward with it, it's not the same material the second time around as it is the first. In a lot of ways, it's a lot like reading a novel twice or three times or more, or watching a movie. Yeah. You always pick up on different things every time. And it's not that the material itself is different. It's operating on many different layers, seemingly, because you're different. So the second time, for example, that you go through the workbook could be vastly different than the first. You may run across passages that really spoke to you the first time around, and you just kind of glance over them as though you've assimilated them into your being and your understanding, and new things will stand out. So whatever is standing out for you, I really just want to invite and encourage you to listen to your intuition, listen to your guides, whatever that looks like for you. Just listen to that guidance, because something is calling you to pay attention. It's saying, pay attention to me, right? And that could be subtle. Some days that feeling is subtle. It's a subtle hint. Other times it just smacks you in the face and it's perfectly clear and obvious. So yeah, my invitation is just to pay attention to what Spirit is asking you to pay attention to. What source, God, yeah, yourself, capital S, which we'll talk about here. All of that. Yeah, same. Okay. Pay attention to what you're asking yourself, in essence, to focus on today. And then again, it never hurts to remind ourselves, does it, that spirituality is 100% about experience. It's about applying this material. It does some good, yes, to read it, and some good to sit with an idea for 15 seconds. That is actually application. However, we're called here to put more effort into it than that, because you've reached a point, we've all reached a point where we realize that surface level is no longer sufficient. Surface level is just fine in its own right, but it's no longer enough because we've all reached the point where we recognize, hey, we're in control here. And we are responsible for our own decisions. Having made mistakes in the past, we can make different choices in the present. Having made samsara, literally, really, having made the world of suffering, we can now unmake it. That's what I mean by we're in control. We're in control of our decision for God or the ego, love or fear, in the present moment. And how do we make sure we're in that and staying in it while we let go of control? Isn't that fun? Yeah, the paradox. Yes, we let go and allow the Holy Spirit to show us, to teach us, to lead. This is getting out of our own way. It's saying, admitting, if you prefer, to ourselves that we don't know our own best interest. It's saying, I don't know my own best interest here. Help. Help. Yeah, that's what spirituality is all about. It's our putting the ego aside. That's what happens when we do that, when we sincerely ask for help. We're putting the ego to the side. It clearly doesn't know what's going on, totally confused. And when we follow it, we don't know what's going on either. We're totally confused. And we're running around in circles. It's the proverbial hamster wheel. It's a dog chasing its tail, so to speak. And if it ever actually catches its tail and bites down on it, yelps out in pain. And that's the ego for you. And we return to it out of habit. Enter spiritual practice to help us instill new habits. It's instilling a new and a healthy habit, a habit of practice, a habit of reminding ourselves of who we are. So let's get into that. We're on lesson 211 here in the workbook. And as you may know, we're in the midst of a very profound review period. Here, Jesus has us review several ideas, 20 of them consecutively, with the overarching theme that we're not a body. So in every practice period, we begin by contemplating the idea, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And then, well, I invite you to sit with that one as long as you'd like. Maybe it's for a long time, so it really gets to you. That'd be really cool. Just saying. All right. So the idea that we're reviewing here in lesson 211 today is lesson 191. You'll recognize this one. I am the Holy Son of God himself. I dropped my expensive microphone right there, but it's expensive and I don't want to break it. It's a mic drop, yeah. I am the Holy Son of God himself. Who else would you be? How often have you really contemplated this for yourself? How often have you simply sat in quiet and contemplated this idea that you are the Holy Son of God himself? You are the thought of God, God's creation, the extension of God, the extension of love. Love extends only love. The verbal math is very simple. It's very straightforward. And people in the world run from it. people may wish to throw their hands up in the air and say, no, I'm not afraid of the light. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. But the reality is human beings are more afraid of their own awakening than anything else. It means leaving the ego to the side completely and accepting the truth of this statement. I am the Holy Son of God himself. You are the Holy Son of God himself. How often have you sat in silence, in true humility, in loving acceptance of this idea? Do it today. Do it today and see how it feels. God created you love can only extend itself. This is what is meant by you're created in the image of your creator. It's not a human image. It's not a male or a female human image. God is not a human being. God is spirit, an idea. This means so too are you, not a body. You are free, just as God created you. This is your self with a capital S. Deep down in the deepest recesses of your being, you recognize this, you acknowledge, and you simply know this. This is intuition. Yes, you just know. You just know because you recognize. The pull is so strong that you're invited to lean into it, to tell yourself and to practice this statement that you want only the peace of God, that you recognize that you are the Holy Son of God himself. Don't get hung up on the word son nor himself. Remember, words are simply symbols. They are not the things that they refer to, and the things that words refer to aren't things either. So, who are you? What are you? You are the Holy Son of God himself. Sit with this idea, and then sit with the idea that you are not a body. You are free, for you are still, and always have been, as God created you. And sometimes, as a teacher, it's very funny, isn't it? Sometimes there's just nothing else to add. So let's leave it at that. And as always, I thank you all for tuning in.